What you have just heard, listeners all over the world, is a warning. And you will hear this warning from here on out. You've been listening to your leaders tell you that there's a great move toward democracy in the world. You witnessed the parting of the Iron Curtain, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the fracturing of the Soviet Union. And this is all supposedly toward a new worldwide democracy. Democracy is a code word for socialism, and that's why our forefathers established a republic. But don't get down, folks. All is not lost. The problem lies within each and every one of you, and therein also lies the answer. I'm your host, William Cooper, and you're listening to the Hour of the Time.
I want to make it clear that we are not going to get caught up in the notion unless we can do everything, we're going to do nothing. It's critically important we act. And there's certain things I know a great deal about almost all of your organizations. I've read what you have published and spoken to. And there's a pretty wide consensus on 3 or 4 or 5 things in the gun safety area that could and should be done around this table. You should know that tomorrow I've also invited the gun owners and the NRA to come and make their case as well before us. I want it clear to the American public that on behalf of the President, we're reaching out to all parties on whatever side of this debate you fall. But the President is going to act, or executive orders, executive action that can be taken. We haven't decided what that is yet, but we're compiling it all with help of the Attorney General and all the rest of the cabinet members, as well as legislative action we believe is required. So I appreciate you very much being here, and with that, what I'd like to do is thank the press for coming on in, and maybe we can get to work, okay?
Tonight, as Vice President Joe Biden meets with various groups about ways to curb gun violence, he said today that the White House could use executive orders to deal with gun control. In that case, the president will be bypassing Congress completely to take action himself on this issue. Joining us to discuss this is Democratic strategist Jason Stanford. Jason, first of all, you know, is this Joe Biden kind of getting caught up in the emotion of it all and saying something that may not be dovetailing with the White House, or do you think this is a real deal?
I think Joe Biden is playing the part of the wise fool here. He is telling Congress that if you don't act, we will. And that's what executive orders are there for. They're the privilege of the president to set policy. And it might not be a perfect solution, but it beats doing nothing. And that's exactly what the vice president said today.
What sort of order would the president make?
We don't know yet. That's the thing. He left it so far open that the people who are standing in the way of common sense reforms have to think twice about it, thinking that if we don't give them, say, high-capacity magazines, or if we don't close the gun loophole, what is Joe Biden going to do to us? That's what they don't know, and that's the scary thing for people who are standing in the way of common sense gun safety laws.
And so is this a way for the president to tell Congress, you better do something, I'm going to do something, or I'm going to force you to do something?
Yeah, and let's keep in mind, we're talking about a Congress that is slightly more popular than gonorrhea.
Right.
And gonorrhea can be cured. You know, this is a Congress that lost the popular vote. More people voted for Democrats for Congress by a slim margin than voted for Republicans, yet Republicans won 56% of the seats. These guys are fairly immune to public opinion. They don't care what the polls say about gun safety laws. What they do care about is having their will subverted and getting run over by Obama. They hate that.
I mean, let's talk about public opinion for a moment. I mean, when the president says, I'm going to do executive orders on gun control and gun issues, for a lot of people out there, for a lot of gun owners, and for a lot of people who aren't gun owners, I mean, they'll see that as that's the president saying, oh, by the way, I'm going to circumvent the Second Amendment about the right to bear arms.
Well, let's take guns out of this for a second. Presidents have been signing executive orders to set policy since FDR, and they sign, on average, when we're not in wartime, about 40 to 50 a year, and Obama's been right along track. Surprisingly, I looked it up today, George W. Bush has signed slightly fewer a year than Obama, but he signed a lot. One of those was to allow enhanced interrogation techniques. That one wasn't published right away. There are some national security implications there. But by and large, every time a president signs an executive order, it's published in the Federal Registry. So it's not private. This is there's transparency.
Sure.
Second of all, there's judicial review. And if people think that it's not legal, as we thought with enhanced interrogation techniques, we can sue.
Yeah, there's a challenge in the courts.
We're not talking a tyrant here. We're talking about a duly elected president by a majority of Americans.
Well, I mean, what we could also be talking about here is if the president, makes some of these orders, this goes from an issue about gun control and gun violence into an issue of presidential power and checks and balances in the Constitution, and maybe the focus shifts from gun violence to how much power can the president accumulate.
I think Obama and Joe Biden would absolutely love it if Congress would work with them to pass common sense gun safety laws. Everyone wants that. Everyone wants consensus. But again, we're talking about a Senate that is filibustered 264 times.
Yeah.
You know how many times they filibustered under Abraham Lincoln?
Yeah, I don't want to guess. Yeah.
Once. These guys, if they didn't say no, they really wouldn't have anything to say. So their main goal in the first 4 years has been to beat Obama. That didn't work so well. They have two choices now: work with him or impeach him. And I dare them to try to impeach him.
Well, the president laying down the law, so to speak, with the Congress. Okay, Jason Stanford, thanks for coming by. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Today, Vice President Joe Biden will continue his efforts to curb gun violence by holding a meeting with representatives from the National Rifle Association, the NRA. Ed Payne has more.
The National Rifle Association has made its position clear: no new gun laws. The organization has actively lobbied to prevent any new legislation limiting guns, saying we should enforce the gun laws already on the books. But Vice President Joe Biden made it clear that the White House intends to take action to reduce gun violence.
If the president is going to act, or executive orders, executive action that can be taken, we haven't decided what that is yet, but we're compiling it all with the help of the Attorney General and all the rest of the cabinet members, as well as legislative action we believe is required.
With the gun debate heating up, gun and ammunition sales are heating up as well. Many gun enthusiasts are stocking up on weapons and ammo, fearing they could be outlawed. Jay Wallace, an ammunition distributor in Atlanta, has seen a big boost in sales.
This is probably, in my lifetime, in my business lifetime, there's been more demand for ammunition than there's ever been. We're having law enforcement agencies that are coming in buying ammunition off the shelf.
Walmart, the nation's largest retailer, now says its executive will also meet with Biden's gun violence task force. They initially had declined. I'm Ed Payne reporting.